Al-Nusra Front or Jabhat al-Nusra, sometimes called Tanzim Qa'edat Al-Jihad fi Bilad Al-Sham or Al-Qaeda in Syria, is a branch of Al-Qaeda operating in Syria and Lebanon. The group announced its creation on January 23, 2012 during the Syrian Civil War. Since then it has been described as the most aggressive and successful, or one of the most effective rebel forces in Syria. The group has been designated as a terrorist organization by the United Nations, the United States, Australia, the United Kingdom, and Turkey. Ideology: this resistance group is generally described as being made up of Sunni Islamist mujahideen. Its goal is to overthrow the Assad government and to create an pan-Islamic state under the Sharia and aims to reinstate the caliphate. It encourages all Syrians to take part in the war against the Syrian government. In an interview with a UAE newspaper, Abu Ahmed, a man identifying himself as the Al-Nusra military commander for the Hosaka Governorate, described the organization's goals as deposing Bashar al-Assad, and then establishing a state ruled by the Sharia. In early 2014, a top Sharia official in the group, Dr. Sami al-Aradi, acknowledged that his group is influenced by the teachings of Abu Musab al-Suri. The strategies derived from Abu Musab unregistered trademark S guidelines to win hearts and minds amongst local Muslim communities include, providing services to people, avoid being seen as extremists, maintaining strong relationships with communities and other fighting groups, and putting the focus on fighting the regime. Members of the group are accused of attacking the religious beliefs of non-Sunnis in Syria, including the Alawis. New York Times journalist C.J. Chivers cites some analysts and diplomats as noting that Al-Nusra Front can appear less focused on toppling the al-Assad government than on establishing a zone of influence spanning Iraq's Atbah province and the desert eastern areas of Syria, and eventually establishing an Islamic territory under their administration. Members of the group have referred to the United States and Israel as enemies of Islam and warned against Western intervention in Syria. Syrian members of the group claim they are only fighting the Assad government and would not attack Western states. The United States accused it of being affiliated with Al-Qaeda in Iraq. In April 2013, the leader of Al-Qaeda in Iraq released an audio statement affirming this connection. Analysis: the leader of Al-Nusra goes by the name of Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani, which implies that he is from the Golan Heights. Very little is known about him, with even his nationality unclear. On December 18, 2013, he gave his first television interview, to Taser Alaouni, a journalist originally from Syria, for Al Jazeera. His name was given as al-Jawlani, the more usual form in the Francophone Levant, and although his voice was heard, the camera was on the journalist with only the back of the head in Kefi of al-Jawlani visible. The interview was translated, by voiceover, for Al Jazeera English viewers. The interview can be accessed on the Internet. Al-Jawlani's motivation for the interview may have been partly to counter either to a general external audience or to elements of the Islamist caucus, recent rumors of his demise, and partly as a means of asserting his own status, both to the world in general and to present and former Islamist colleagues in particular, in the wake of the well-recorded rifts and power play. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi has declared that the Syrian faction should unite with its colleagues in the Iraqi faction, coincidentally under the command of Baghdadi himself. Al-Jawlani clearly wishes neither to be dominated by the largely secular Free Syrian Army, nor by other Islamist groups, and feels he needs to be more proactive with his publicity. The structure of the group varies across Syria. In Damascus, the organization operates in an underground clandestine cell system, while in Aleppo the group is organized along semi-conventional military lines, with units divided into brigades, regiments and platoons. All potential recruits must undertake a 10-day religious training course, followed by a 15 to 20-day military training program. Al-Nusra contains a hierarchy of religious bodies, with a small Mali Shura at the top, making national decisions on behalf of the group. Religious personnel also play an important role in the regional JN leadership, with each region having a commander and a sheikh. The sheikh supervises the commander from a religious perspective and is known as Dabbit al-Shari. It is unclear whether this role has a closer parallel with a religious chaplain present in many conventional military units of the Western armies, or a religious counterpart of the political commissar of the wartime Soviet armies. Al-Nusra appears to be the only rebel group in Syria which has members inside a number of government institutions, including the government security apparatus and military units. Particularly in Damascus, spying systems are sophisticated. An increasing number of Americans of South Asian descent have been attempting to join the fighting in Syria, specifically with Al-Nusra. Most recently, Shinvin Gonguyan, also known as Hassan Abu Omar Ghanem, was arrested in California on October 11, 2013, on charges of attempting to travel to join Al-Qaeda after reportedly having fought in Syria. As of November 2013, there had also been 5 additional publicly disclosed cases of Americans fighting in Syria, 3 of which were linked to Al-Nusra. All statements and videos by the Nusra Front have been released by its media outlet, Al-Manar al-Baida, via the leading jihadist web forum Shamak al-Islam. The name, Al-Manar al-Baida, is believed to allude to a hadith or Islamic tradition of the second coming of Jesus, who will descend to earth east of Damascus and do battle with the Antichrist. History, background. The Quilliam Foundation, in a briefing paper, reports that many of the group's members are Syrians who were part of Abu Musab al-Zarqawi's Islamist network fighting the American forces in Iraq. Many of these Syrians remained in Iraq after the withdrawal of American forces, but upon the outbreak of Syrian Civil War in 2011, the Islamic State of Iraq sent the Syrian Mujahideen and individual Iraqi experts in guerrilla warfare into Syria. A number of meetings were held between October 2011 and January 2012 in Rif Damashq and Homs where the objectives of the group were determined. The Al-Nusra Front released its first public statement on January 24, 2012 in which they called for armed struggle against the Syrian government. The group claimed responsibility for the 2012 Aleppo bombings, the January 2012 Al-Maidan bombing, the March 2012 Damascus bombings, the murder of journalist Mohammed al-Said, and possibly the 10 May 2012 Damascus bombings. Iraqi Foreign Minister Osha Zabari has said that Al-Qaeda in Iraq members have gone to Syria, where the militants previously received support and weapons, in order to join the Al-Nusra Front. They are considered to be the best trained and most experienced fighters amongst the Syrian rebels. The group has refused calls for a ceasefire in Syria. U.S. intelligence agencies had originally suspected Al-Qaeda in Iraq for the bombings in Aleppo and Damascus. Iraq's Deputy Interior Minister said early February that weapons and Islamist militants were entering Syria from its country. The front claimed credit for suicide attacks in the Syrian capital of Damascus al-Zura al-Zubaydi. A defecting diplomat named Nawaf al-Faiz stated in an interview with the Daily Telegraph that jihadis were used by the Syrian government in attacks against civilians so that the government could blame the deaths on Syrian rebels. Role in the Syrian Civil War. Al-Nusra Front has been a great help to Syrian rebels in the Battle of Aleppo. One rebel said that members of the group rushed to the rescue of rebel lines that come under pressure and hold them. They know what they are doing and are very disciplined. They are like the special forces of Aleppo. After the U.S. designated Al-Nusra Front as an Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group, several rebel groups defied the U.S. classification and rallied behind Al-Nusra Front declaring "We are all Jabhat al-Nusra." A Free Syrian Army leader in Aleppo berated the move and FSA spokesman in Aleppo said "We might not share the same beliefs as Jabhat al-Nusra, but we are fighting the same enemy." While some FSA leaders are worried by Al-Nusra Front's theocratic ideology and plans for Syria's future, they see foreign extremists as a welcomed boost to the fight against the Assad regime, bringing experience from Iraq and Afghanistan. Whilst FSA has consistently stated their disapproval of Al-Nusra Front's use of suicide bombs, they have also thanked them for some suicide operations with strategic benefit, such as the attack on Menal Air Base. Some disgruntled voices within the FSA accuse Al-Nusra Front and others of hijacking a revolution that began as an uprising to demand a democratic system. The leader of a rebel group in Idlib province said "We are not fighting Bashar al-Assad to go from living in an autocratic to a religious prison. a senior political official of the FSA said their presence is reducing the popular support that we desperately need in areas where we operate. I appreciate their motives for coming to Syria. We cannot deny Muslims their right to jihad, but we want them to leave. In some parts of Syria, jihadist and secular rebel groups watch each other's military bases warily, unclasping the safety catches on their guns as they pass. Some members of the FSA believe that, after the Assad government has been overthrown, the next war will be between the FSA and the Islamists. The leader of the National Coalition for Syrian Revolutionary and Opposition Forces, Moaz al-Khatib, called on the U.S. to reconsider its decision to list the Al-Nusra Front as a foreign terrorist organization. Al-Khatib has stated that all rebel forces whose main goal is the fall of the regime should be left alone. After the listing of Al-Nusra as a terrorist organization by the U.S. in December 2012, a group of 29 opposition groups, including both fighting units and civilian organizations, signed an online petition calling for demonstrations in its support. On December 14, 2012, thousands of Syrians protested against the U.S. move, under the slogan of "There is no terrorism in Syria except that of Assad." Split with Islamic State of Iraq. In April 2013, the leader of the Islamic State of Iraq, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, released a recorded audio message on the Internet, in which he announced that Jabhat al-Nusra was an extension of Al-Qaeda in Iraq and Syria. Al-Baghdadi said that Abu Muhammad al-Jilani, the leader of Jabhat al-Nusra, had been dispatched by the group along with a group of men to Syria to meet with pre-existing cells in the country. Al-Baghdadi said that the ISI had provided Jabhat al-Nusra with the plans and strategy needed for the Syrian Civil War and had been providing them funding on a monthly basis. Al-Baghdadi then declared that the two groups were officially merging under the name Islamic State of Iraq and Al-Sham. The next day al-Jilani rejected the merger and affirmed the group's allegiance to Al-Qaeda, and its leader, Ayman al-Zawahiri al-Jawlani, was quoted as saying, "We inform you that neither the Al-Nusra Command nor its Consultative Council, nor its General Manager were aware of this announcement. It reached them via the media, and if the speech is authentic, we were not consulted." In May 2013, Reuters reported that Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, leader of the ISI, had traveled from Iraq to Syria's Aleppo Governorate province and began recruiting members of al-Nusra. There were media reports that many of al-Nusra's foreign fighters had left to join al-Baghdadi's Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, while many Syrian fighters left the group to join other Islamist brigades. In June 2013, Al Jazeera reported that it had obtained a letter written by Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri, addressed to both Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani, in which he ruled against the merger of the two organizations and appointed an emissary to oversee relations between them and put an end to tensions. Later in the same month, an audio message from Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was released in which he rejected Zawahiri's ruling and declared that the merger of the two organizations into the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant was going ahead. This sequence of events is said to have caused much confusion and division amongst members of al-Nusra. Some units of al-Nusra began taking part in clashes against the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, and in February 2014, after continued tensions, Al-Qaeda publicly disavowed any relations with ISIS. In the same month, al-Jawlani threatened to go to war with ISIS over their suspected role in the killing of senior ash-Shām commander Abu Khaled al-Suri. Al-Jawlani gave ISIS 5 days to submit evidence that they were innocent in the attack to 3 imprisoned jihadist clerics, Abu Muhammad al-Maqdisi, Abu Qatada al-Falastini and Sulaiman al-Awan. On April 16, 2014, the ISIS killed al-Nusra's Idlib chief Abu Muhammad al-Ansari together with his family, SOHR reported. In May 2014, open fighting soon broke out between ISIS and al-Nusra in Dura Zor Governorate, leaving hundreds dead on both sides. By July 2014, al-Nusra has largely been expelled from the province. They are forming an emirate tolerating activities of other militant groups. Attacks. During the Syrian Civil War, the group launched many attacks, mostly against targets affiliated with or supportive of the Syrian government. As of June 2013, Al-Nusra Front had claimed responsibility for 57 of the 70 suicide attacks in Syria during the conflict. One of the first bombings for which Al-Nusra was suspected of and the first suicide attack of the war came on December 23, 2011, when two seemingly coordinated bombings occurred in the Syrian capital of Damascus, killing 44 people and wounding 166. The Al-Maidan bombings of January 2012 were allegedly carried out by a fighter named Abu al-Bara al-Shami. Footage of the destruction caused by the blast was released on a jihadist forum. The video asserts that the martyrdom-seeking operation was executed in revenge for our mother Abdullah from the city of Homs against whom the criminals of the regime violated her dignity and threatened to slaughter her son, site reported. The video shows an excerpt of allegiances, operations, and training of the Al-Nusra Front as well as a fighter amongst the masses in a public demonstration, advising them to do their prayers and adhere to the rituals of Islam. The Al-Nusra Front announced the formation of the Free Ones of the Levant Brigades in a YouTube video statement that was released on January 23. In the statement, the group claimed that it attacked the headquarters of security in Idlib province. To all the free people of Syria, we announce the formation of the Free Ones of the Levant Brigades, the statement said, according to a translation obtained by the Long War Journal. We promise Allah, and then we promise you, that we will be a firm shield and a striking hand to repel the attacks of this criminal al-Assad army with all the might we can muster. We promise to protect the lives of civilians and their possessions from security in the Shibaya, pro-government militia. We are a people who will either gain victory or die. The 10th May 2012 Damascus bombings were allegedly claimed by Al-Nusra Front in an internet video. However, on May 15, 2012, someone claiming to be a spokesman for the group denied that the organization was responsible for the attack, saying that it would only release information through jihadist forums. On May 29, 2012, a mass execution was discovered near the eastern city of Deir ez-Zor. The unidentified corpses of 13 men had been discovered shot to death execution style. On June 5, 2012, the Al-Nusra Front claimed responsibility for the killings, stating that they had captured and interrogated the soldiers in Deir ez-Zor and justly punished them with death, after they confessed to crimes. On June 17, 2012, Walid Ahmad al-Aish, described by Syrian authorities as the right hand of the Al-Nusra Front, was killed when Syrian authorities discovered his hiding place. He was reportedly responsible for the making of car bombs that were used to attack Damascus in the previous months. The Syrian authorities reported the killing of another prominent member of the group, Wael Mohammed al-Mawdallawi, killed on August 12, 2012 in an operation conducted in Damascus. On June 27, 2012, a group of Syrian rebels attacked a pro-government TV station in the town of Drusha, just south of the capital Damascus. The station's studios were destroyed with explosives. 7 people were killed in the attack on Al-Akhbari TV, including 4 guards and 3 journalists. Al-Nusra claimed responsibility for the attack and published photos of 11 station employees they kidnapped following the raid. In mid-July 2012, Mohammed El-Said, a well-known government TV news presenter, was kidnapped by the group. On August 3, 2012, Al-Nusra published a statement saying that Al-Said had been executed. On October 3, 3 suicide car bombs exploded at the eastern corner of the central Saudallah al-Jabiri Square, killing 48 people, as it was announced by the Ministry of Interior. More than 122 people were reported to be heavily injured. Al-Nusra claimed responsibility for the attack. The bombs targeted the Officers' Club and the nearby buildings of the touristic hotel and a historic Juha Kafar copyright. The hotel received major damage while the Kafar copyright was entirely destroyed. A small building within the Officers' Club was ruined as well. The Al-Nusra Front also claimed responsibility for attacking numerous Syrian military bases, including Aleppo district, an air defense base, on October 12, 2012, Aleppo City, the Hanano Barracks, Raqqa, the Suluk Barracks, In the air defense base assault they reportedly destroyed buildings and sabotaged radar and rockets after overrunning the base in cooperation with the Al-Fajr Islamic movement and a group of Chechen fighters. During the storming of the Hanano barracks 11 soldiers were killed and they held the complex for 6 hours before retreating. They also claimed killing 32 soldiers during the raid on the Raqqah base. In October 2012, they joined other rebels in an attack on the Wadi Dif base around Marat al-Numan, in a prolonged fighting that turned into a siege of the base. They also led an attack on the Taftanaz air base in November 2012, an important and strategic base for the Syrian army, containing up to 48 helicopters. The group seized 3 army checkpoints around Siraq at the end of October 2012, forcing the Syrian army to withdraw from the area the next day. In the battle, 28 Syrian soldiers were killed as well as 5 Nusra fighters. Some of the captured soldiers were summarily executed after being called Assad dogs. The video of these executions was widely condemned, with the United Nations referring to them as probable war crimes. Members of the Al-Nusra Front carried out 2 suicide attacks in early November 2012. One occurred in a rural development center in Zalalab in Hama province, where a car bomb killed 2 people. While the other occurred in the Mzi neighborhood of Damascus, where a suicide bomber killed 11 people. The SOHR claimed a total of 50 soldiers were killed in the Zalalab attack. Al Jazeera reported on December 23, 2012 that the Al-Nusra Front had declared a no-fly zone over Aleppo, using 23 and 57 anti-aircraft guns to down planes. This would include commercial flights which Al-Nusra believed transported military equipment and troops. In a video sent to Al Jazeera, they warned civilians against boarding commercial flights. In February 2013, Al-Nusra fighters were involved in fighting in Safira with regime reinforcements, preventing these forces from reaching their destination of the city of Aleppo. A monitoring group claims this resulted in more than 200 casualties over a period of 2 weeks. Though it was initially reported that Syrian Catholic priest Fana Section Wamarad was beheaded at a church in Ghasaniye, he was actually shot dead. The group has taken part in military operations with the Free Syrian Army. Abu Haidar, a Syrian FSA coordinator in Aleppo's Sef al-Dawla district, said that Al-Nusra Front have experienced fighters who are like the revolution's elite commando troops. In December 2013, Al-Nusra abducted 30 nuns from a Christian monastery in Maaloula, Qatar, offer $1 mil for each nun, but Al-Nusra refuses and they release them for free. They were held in the town of Yabarud until March 9, 2014. The nuns reported they had not been harassed and could keep religious symbols. As of July 2013, Al-Nusra controls Ash-Shām, a town of roughly 16,000. External support. At least one Arab government has accused Qatar of helping Al-Nusra. The U.S. government has been sending weapons to rebels in Syria since at least late 2013, and perhaps as early as 2011, during the beginning phases of the conflict. These weapons have been reportedly falling into hands of extremists, such as Al-Nusra and ISIL. Al-Nusra has also been materially supported by multiple foreign fighters. Most of these fighters are from Europe and the Middle East, as pipelines to Syria from those locations are better established and navigable. However, as of November 2013, there were also 6 publicly disclosed cases of American citizens and permanent residents who joined or attempted to join Al-Nusra in 2013 alone. Weaponry and tactics. The organization is believed to have used, at various times and in various places, the following tactics: car bombs, suicide attacks, targeting of checkpoints, conventional assault of military bases, assassination of political and military figures and members of the Jabhat, targeting of pro-government media stations and personnel. By June 2013, there had apparently 70 suicide attacks in Syria. The group denied responsibility for 13 but claimed the responsibility for the other 57 in June 2012. The group attacked the pro-government TV station at Drusha, near Damascus. The following month the government TV presenter Mohammed al-Saeed disappeared. The group later declared him dead. In June 2014, Human Rights Watch reported that several rebel groups including Al-Nusra have enlisted child soldiers into their ranks. Chemical weapons, according to former defense correspondent Kenneth Timmerman, writing in September 2013, sources with access to intelligence reports had told him that intelligence reports from French and Jordanian military intelligence show that the jihadist Al-Nusra Front rebels acquired similar rockets and chemical agents earlier this year when they overran a chemical weapons depot in Aleppo on May 17 and captured a rocket unit in Darano, long afterward. On May 30, Turkish newspapers reported that Turkish security forces had arrested al-Nusra fighters in the southern provinces of Mersin and Adana near the Syrian border and confiscated 2 kg of sarin gas. The governor of Adana claimed that the security forces had not found sarin gas but unknown chemicals, without offering further elaboration. The Turkish ambassador to Moscow later said that tests showed the chemical seized was antifreeze, not sarin. In September, 6 of those arrested in May were charged with attempting to acquire chemicals which could be used to produce sarin. The indictment said that it was possible to produce sarin gas by combining the materials in proper conditions. The indictment said that the suspects have pleaded not guilty, saying that they had not been aware the materials they had tried to obtain could have been used to make sarin gas. Suspects have been consistently providing conflicting and incoherent facts on this matter. The suspects were said to be linked to Al-Nusra and to ash-Shām. See also, List of armed groups in the Syrian Civil War. References. External links. First ever broadcast interview with Abu Muhammad al-Jilani, translation of Al-Qaeda chief Ayman al-Zawahiri, Euro unregistered trademark S letter to the leaders of the 2 jihadi groups.